All right, Rita.
Yes.
Rita, where did you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Los Angeles, California. Born at Cedars of Lebanon Hospital.
What year were you born?
1933.
So that makes you
90.
90.
On my way to 91.
Good for you. Tell me about your childhood. How did you grow up?
I grew up at Pico in Fairfax, and my 7-year-old girlfriend and I, who I was 7 too, used to take the Fairfax bus to the May Company, Wilshire. And we'd go sit at the top of the 5th floor and watch the people that came up the escalator. And it was so much fun for Fern and I. And we just came every day because it was fun until we were found out. Then it wasn't fun. Because my mother, God bless her, never got out of bed, not to go to school with me or for me, not to do anything. She had a full-time housekeeper for 18 years, and Freddie really, literally raised me.
What was wrong with your mom that she didn't get out of bed?
She was just ill, both in the body and definitely in her head. She and my father were so different that it was hysterical, because he was tall and good looking and ran a big business even through the war, because the government came to him when the war started and said, if you'll convert your factory into uniforms, I will promise you that the USA will give you $1 million, not really, but we'll give you the fabric for a lovely group of black dresses, which women will absolutely devour, because they are so frustrated from the wartime not being able to get anything that was attractive that they'll buy it. So my dad did exactly that. The government gave him 50,000 yards of black, I believe it was rayon, but I'm not sure about that. We'll even try to advise you on what the dress might want to look like, because there are definite styles that women have not been able to buy. And the little black dress, that phrase, and that's exactly what you should make. And you could do anything preparatory to it, and you'll be ready for it. But it's really the truth, because women have been so lackluster when it comes to clothes. They can't get anything that's sexy. And that's what they want, because the men are gone. They're fighting a war.
World War II was going on.
Pardon me?
World War II was going on.
Yes, that was it. I was 9 years old the day the war started. My father and I were visiting his mother, who lived at the beach. And so she sent us to the neighborhood store that had only small number of things. It was a very tiny little place, but it did have milk. So my grandmother asked for a quart of milk. And so my father and I started to walk down the little path. This was a house on Beach Avenue. And we walked on the boardwalk, and it was like like this, and it went right into a market, a little teeny market. But who was on the radio? President Roosevelt. He was telling us all that the Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor and wiped out the fleet, practically. And so that was my first lesson in war or wartime. So my father was very upset, agitated that something like that would happen now to us. I was 9. And so he said, I'll take you downtown to the building. My father and my grandfather owned a large building in Little Tokyo.
I used to do Google searches for my own name, and I was always really disturbed what I'd find. Seeing my personal information out there for anyone to grab, it's just uncomfortable. That's why I've started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura not only shows me which data brokers are peddling my info, but also takes action by sending opt-out requests on my behalf. Data brokers are making a fortune by selling our personal information to anyone willing to pay for it. It's not just harmless information and marketing stuff. They're selling everything from your email, home address, to your health records, even details about your relatives. Cleaning up my digital footprint isn't just avoiding scam emails. It's about protecting myself from potential hackers who could exploit that information and wreak havoc on my life. And recently, AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records of both existing and former customers were released onto the dark web. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura does all of this for me. And best of all, I don't have to download several different apps just because a company couldn't keep my data secure. If my info was compromised in the AT&T data breach, I wouldn't worry because Aura is always on, always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. From antivirus protection to VPN and password management, Aura's got it all covered. It's like having a digital security guard on duty 24/7. I'm too busy to deal with this stuff, but with Aura, I can go about my day knowing that my privacy is being safeguarded, leaving me free to focus on what really matters. So if you value your privacy as much as I do, go to aura.com/softwhiteunderbelly to start your 14-day free trial. The link is in the video description box below. And now back to the video.
But they were taking the Japanese away. So it wasn't, so this was a different day than when I heard President Roosevelt, make the announcement. And the different day that my father took me downtown to the building, which I had been to before, but not many times, and I had little remembrance of what it was or, what it wasn't was. It wasn't. And so he took me down to the building maybe a week or two later. And as we drove into the complex, which was just straight on East First Street, it's still there, by the way, and the military was driving trucks into the area because it was primarily a Japanese area. It was called Little Tokyo. And my first remembrance of that was awful because I had been taken to the building many times, and I had observed that there were a great deal of Japanese in the area, and in our building, it was almost all Japanese. And the first floor, remember Florsheim Shoes? Well, that was the tenant on the window of the first floor. And he had every kind of Florsheim shoes you could think of. And what was impressive was that there was an army truck there. and they were loading Japanese into the truck. And what was so upsetting to me was I knew this little old man because he was the first tenant we had. And why he was the first tenant we had, I have no reason to know. But he was like maybe 5'2" or 3. He was a little tiny man. And my dad said he was 98 or something like that, and that they were taking him away to a containment camp. And we all know what that turned into, and it was pretty terrible and upsetting for me to see this little 98-year-old man being helped up this ladder, and he could hardly walk anyway. What do you do when you're 98? I don't know. I'm not, almost going to 91, and I'm feeling that way. Anyway, so he was a sweet old man.
What do you remember of World War II? How did it change your life?
Oh, how did it change my life? Well, when I heard that Pearl Harbor was bombed, it didn't mean much to me because I didn't know where it was. I mean, I was 9, so I had never been to Hawaii. My parents never went anywhere except Palm Springs. And so when I saw Mr. Nishikubo climbing up into that truck, aided by a soldier, I was pretty upset because that little man we always went in and talked to. We brought him a goodie that was American instead of Japanese. And it really upset my 9-year-old way of thinking. So that was what I had to deal with first about the war. Anyway, so I said, "What does this mean, Daddy? Are they going to do something to those people or send them back to Japan?" He said, "Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's too early. But this bombing just happened yesterday or today. So that's what the government feels, that the Japanese are our enemy." And, you know, I'm not sure that I believe that they are our enemy, but we'll have to wait and see. It's an interesting time in my 9-year-old life. And he said, "I'll take you up to the camp when I find out where it is." So that was my promise, and it was nice because I wanted to follow that little man that I grew up with, really. And so that was first in the war that touched me. And then I said, when Germany got involved, which was very soon after, and actually France too, but that was only because Germany attacked France. So it was a question of, are they against us or with us? So we had to wait. I had to wait a long time to find that out because it wasn't clear. So anyway, I went to a lot of bond rallies. They used to run rallies in public places, in large public places, and people like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby would come and sing and entertain people, hoping that they would put out money for bonds. And even that early in the war, it worked. Frank Sinatra came all the time. He was very democratic. And Bing Crosby was not, but he came just to pretend to be with us. And Germany got in really, really quick. And I knew that we had Germans living upstairs from us. We lived in a duplex in the Pico Fairfax area. And when my father told me that they were German upstairs, I said, maybe that is why at night when I'm sleeping, I get awakened by a tap, tap, tap sound. And he says, what do you mean? I said, maybe they're sending messages back to Germany. He said, you know, hon, that's clever. I'm really proud of your thinking. And I was only 9, so I mean, it was a stretch. And the next day, my father called the FBI. And they came about a day later or two and came on, took them away. That was really amazing to me. I never thought, things like that happened. And so they came and took them away, and as they walked down the stairs, I looked at their faces, and I said, yeah, they don't look very friendly. It was funny, but not funny. And then, we went, my parents and my aunt and my uncle were very busy with democratic projects. We raised war bonds, we rolled bandages. My mother and I rolled bandages and made boxes for soldiers that would have things that they would need or want in it. And that was very intriguing for a 9-year-old girl. And it just got bigger projects as the war went on, because we wanted it over. Women did not want a war. I mean, they missed their men. They missed everything about their life. And so that was...
And the war lasted 6 years.
Yeah.
How did things change during those 6 years?
Well, we couldn't buy things that we wanted or needed, like groceries. A certain number of things we could buy, but there was really not a great variety. So, I mean, they sent shipments to the soldiers all the time, constantly. And anything for the Red Cross needed was immediately shipped. So it was out of the stores. So when you walked into a market, there was little on the shelves. And that was shocking, to a 9-year-old girl. So I think that was nearly blew my mind, to say the least. When I was taking the bus from my house, not really from my house, but from the corner, and going down to a market to do some shopping for my mother's housekeeper, a man was sitting on the bus behind me, and he said, I mean inside the bus, but he's the seat behind me. Anyway, he said he was talking to his friend, and he was talking about the war and about what it meant to him. And he said, if those goddamn Jews weren't over in Germany and all the middle countries, we wouldn't be in this mess. The goddamn Well, I knew that word, and I was only 9. I knew the word, but I was told by my father not to use it because it was derogatory to our religion. And so I sat down in my seat and tried to forget what the man said, and I couldn't forget it. And I said, tell me what you said. And he said, oh, those goddamn and I went like this. Pew! And he didn't know what hit him. It was stupid. I wasn't that strong. I don't know why I precipitated it. It could have been a bad scene for me, but it was bad enough because I felt awful and I was highly insulted, and I just walked off the bus. Fortunately, he had to stop, so he stopped and I got out. And it was a real lesson and experience for me. The only reason I knew the word was because at some of the big meetings that the Democrats had, they'd have a person that was anti-democratic, and they always related it to Jews. I don't know why. I don't really think that was a proper, put together. It didn't have to be somebody Jewish. It was just that somebody made up their mind that that's what the reason was, just like Adolf Hitler. So, and I knew that, so.
You guys had television back then?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No. About maybe a year later or 2 years later, we had, we had the television that was this big,
Black
and
and white.
the entire neighborhood wanted to come in because they knew we had one, and it was a great big cabinet, and this little, anyway, it was fun to go to the rallies because there were always important people there. And something about me must have been attractive because Frank Sinatra, who was sitting in the first row, 7th seat. How do I remember that? I don't know. But he said, "You're a really pretty girl. Why don't you come sit on my seat, on my lap?" And I said, "Dad?" He said, "Oh, go, it's no big deal." And later in my life, I learned it was a big deal and I shouldn't have done it, but that's that.
You sat on Frank Sinatra's lap.
Yeah,
Wow.
when I was 9. 7th seat in the row. I counted that. I got out, when I got off his lap, I went over and stood, and which was too funny even to me.
When the war ended, did things change dramatically?
Absolutely.
Tell me how things changed.
Well, they exchanged uniforms. I mean, from my dad's factory, he had 60, I think, seamstresses. And then he had like 10 cutters, and there's some women that just finished the garments, and they delivered to a certain place the finished uniforms. And then when the war was over, the day it ended, you can't even believe it because it's too hard to believe, they delivered 50,000 yards of black rayon crepe is the word for the fabric. And my dad's designer designed a dress with a flap over top like here, slit up to here, and string sleeves. But they weren't sleeves, they were just to hold the dress up. And it did exactly what they told him it would do. Every woman in America had a Karl Naftel black dress. And I have the ads, some of them, and the girls have some of them. And her daughter, which is a funny little story, has nothing to do with the war, but it's so cute. It was hard to find a Karl Naftel label after he gave up the uniforms, because they didn't have to use them if they didn't want to. They didn't go with the uniforms, but they went with the regular dresses, which he made, I don't know how many, but do you remember, Randy? I think he made 40 or 30 or 40,000 of these little black dresses. And it was an immediate hit. And you can see them hanging in certain things that record old things. And that's the way, I think, isn't that the way Hannah found it?
They sell them on eBay.
eBay.
They're
So,
collector items.
huh?
They are collector's items.
And she bought one, but it wasn't the black. It was a different color. And she was so excited when she did it that she immediately called me. And I think I called her mother. And it was hysterical to see her daughter wearing a wartime dress. And it was, she was so thrilled to buy it on eBay.
What were things like in 1945 when the war ended? How did life change in the United States?
How did it change again? Well, things got a little easier in general. The things that had been out of the markets or out of the other stores reappeared. When my father used to go to work on Saturday, it was a day for friends and relatives to come down and buy a dress if they wanted to. I had them in my house for years, every day, and I had a whole clientele, that came, which was really not right, I admit. I got the money and then gave half of the money to my father. And that was not right because that was depriving stores of what they exactly wanted at that time. So my dad said, don't go out of your way to tell anybody. Just do what you're doing and it'll be all right. And sure enough, my neighbor across the street reported me to a big chain of stores. And she said, they'll never buy from Carl Naftal again or his daughter. They didn't seem to understand that. They came to me. I had like 300 clients, which was sizable for just a house. And they loved getting the deal that I gave them, which was just a bit over wholesale.
Do you remember the day the war ended?
Oh yeah, but can I remember now? Sweetheart, I'm 90. It's hard to remember things that happen.
But certainly morale changed.
Oh, absolutely.
In the country.
Yeah, in the country, the morale was much boosted, and women were thrilled. They had a black dress, and my father got into manufacturing all the other things, I mean dresses that he made normally, and that was fun, and that was really one of my favorite experiences because it was the first real modeling I had ever done. I had done all kinds of little stuff, but I'd never been in a major manufacturer's place where he wanted me to model for his clients. That was great. Because I worked all the stores in Beverly Hills, Saks, Magnums, all of them. And what wasn't in Beverly Hills, I worked there too, because I had no problem getting work. And my girls were never left with babysitters. They were left with my mother's housekeeper. And she was reliable, and she adored them. And that was terrific. And that was the best thing that my family ever did for me because I did earn money that way. And I also got new clothes. And I was married 3 times, and my husband's never had to buy me clothes. I mean, I had more than I needed. Did that stop me? No.
The economy recovered nicely after the war.
Well, yes, after that war, it seemed to recover quite well. And if it didn't grow quite as much as people expected, it just took a little longer. And then everything was back in the stores and people were buying like crazy. And then I don't remember the year that Roosevelt said, we have to cut this extraneous buying because it keeps you from working on your own businesses and things like that. And those are the most important because that's our economy. So that was
What was your favorite decade in your life?
I think when I had my children, it was just so absolutely thrilling to have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the fourth one was seriously ill when she was born. She had surgery 2 weeks after she was born. She had, and in addition to what that was, her feet went like that, so they had to put braces on her legs, and they were metal. So every time she moved or touched the rails in her crib, knocked out, a big hunk. And so there came a time when we couldn't leave her in the crib. We had to put her into a different bed and make sure that someone was always watching her. And that was a funny story in itself. She had these disaligned feet. And when the doctor operated on her at 2 weeks, he straightened her legs well because she still can walk, in a straight line and get around okay. But till she was 19 months, she couldn't turn over. And the doctor told us to put her on the floor and let her wriggle across the floor. And everybody was all right with that except my parents. They could not stand to leave her on the floor. So they would pick her up every time she went, ah! Which was dreadful. I mean, really, you can't do that with the baby. They have a good memory, and they don't like that. Anyway, so finally we got her past that stage, and the girls started growing up, and they were a blast.
You have 4 daughters.
Yes, I have 4 daughters, and the last one was the one that had the problem with her legs. But and when she was 19 months, that's when she finally could turn over and almost stand. And then she learned to walk. But it was hard. It was a torturous thing for her. And I mean, it was reminiscent of my birth because I had a serious disease that nobody knew how to treat. It was called celiac disease. And there are a lot of people that have it, but not too many that try to change it or make it different because it's very difficult. It's a whole special menu and nothing with wheat.
It's like
So-
a gluten intolerance.
And that's my whole life. I've been wheat free.
Did you discover?
Primarily.
Did you figure out the correct diet early on, or did you struggle with it?
Well, I was sent to live at in Long Beach at a registered nurse's home, private home, and her daughter, who was also a registered nurse. There were 7 of us, and we were not all celiac. We were all different things. So there wasn't a day that went by that they didn't have to make a run to Children's Hospital with one of us. And it was very sad that I couldn't live at home until I was 6 years old. And I rarely saw my father and my mother, who I described to you. She couldn't come to see me because she didn't drive and she didn't care to learn. So I had a lonely kind of a life until I came home at 6. And then I immediately was placed in school, which I think was a good thing in the end. But it was very difficult because I had never had any training or anything like that. And the kids that were in the place I lived were all different kinds of problems. So I didn't keep in touch with them either, which seems to me ridiculous because I was there for 6 years. And my mother and father rarely could come because my father had the car and he was a traveling salesman. That was before he had his own business. So it was I lived a very peculiar young life. And not to mention the food. I mean, that was really something else. So I lived on skim milk and Jell-O and bananas. That was it. Well, that's celiac. I mean, until I was about 40, there wasn't any decent food. And then when they started making it, they went all out. And I pretty much can eat anything except wheat. And if you know it's wheat, you just don't do it. And my daughters all catch me every time I deviate. And I really am careful. I don't want to suffer because it's not worth it. Why bother?
Who would you say was the love of your life?
The love of my life. Oh. A guy I met this guy who was the second person in my life. The first person in my life was her father, my daughter's father. And he lived next door to me. And he drove my car before I drove it. And I have a magnificent painting that he painted. He was an art student at UCLA. And in his senior year, he painted John F. Kennedy. And I have that picture in my house. And it is an amazing picture. Everybody walks by that picture and goes, "Ah," because it looks more like John F. Kennedy than he did, because Robert was a magnificent painter. Unfortunately, the rest of him wasn't that marvelous. except that I have 4 daughters, and they were all from him. So that's not too bad.
What would you say is your biggest regret?
My biggest regret. It couldn't be marrying Robert, and I've said this 100 times, because I wouldn't have my daughters, and they mean the most to me of anything in my life. My 4 daughters are so special. They're just, and they do anything and everything for me. So I just had a 90th birthday, and I don't know whether you heard anything about it, but the girls took over a brand new hotel in Santa Monica, the Proper. And we had, I think, almost 100 people. And they were all family, pretty much. I didn't get to have most of my friends, but the family was all there, including 2 little babies. And they were the youngest of all our children. And I took pictures. I didn't. My daughter Ronnie did. She hired a fabulous photographer. And don't ask me his name, I don't remember. And he took pictures, very captivating pictures, because it was me in the middle of one group. And as a gift after the party, I gave them each a framed picture of me with them. And it was such a hit that, you know, I have some extras now, and I'm going to take them to an art class that I go to at where I live and give them to my teacher and let her figure out how to cover the writing that we had put on the frames. They're real wood, and it says Rita's 90th, and then it has the date and some little gadgets on the ends. And I think she will make it into a real terrific project, because Kate is just fabulous. She is a known mosaic person. She makes great big mosaics, and they're very expensive. Anyway, that's that part.
Life has changed so much throughout your life. 90 years is a long time. How have things changed? What are the biggest changes you've seen, like between the middle of the 20th century and today?
Well, I think that I have developed a nice group of friends at Brookdale, where I live. And our favorite thing to do is to play mahjong. And I never knew how to play mahjong. My mother never played cards or did anything. And so I never picked it up. And here I am, 90 years old, and I just learned a new game. And it's such a good game. And we play it probably every night after dinner until maybe 8:30. So like from 6:30 to 8:30 or something like that. And sometimes not, but it's an easy game to learn, and it's wonderful to play it. It's fun.
But do you think life is getting more difficult today than it was 40, 50 years ago?
When I was growing up, or
Yeah, like when you were.
I think for younger people, I think it's definitely harder because there's so many rules in place now that you have to obey in order to live the way we live, which is extraordinarily light, if that means anything. It seemed to me that life was harder when we were in the 40s. And you know, it's just my philosophy. My girls were mostly at home. They had boyfriends here and there, and the one that had the one steady one was Robin. She and Paul met when they were 14, and they've been married almost 50 years, from age 14. So that's a pretty good record, for happiness. They have 2 children who have 3 children, and it's wonderful. I just had Robin's oldest daughter over on Monday with the 2 babies. And Owen is 19 months, and the new baby is 5 weeks or 6 weeks. And it's such a different world, and yet it's the same. I think every generation grows up relatively the same way. They have their good things and they have their lousy things. And sometimes the lousy things outweigh the good things, and that's a shame. Like, I didn't tell you that my first date was not my husband, but Joel Gray. You remember him? He lived a block from me, and he used to see me walk past his house on the way to school. And I guess maybe it took him some time to get the courage up to say something. I don't know. So one day he walked to our mutual corner, half a block up from him, half a block from me. And he said, "I'd love to take you to the movies." And I said, "You look like Joel Gray."
Joel Gray, the actor.
Yeah. Actor, dancer, singer.
Yeah, he did many
all
things.
of those things. Yeah, he lived a block from me. And I never saw him before that because I walked that way to school every day. I went to Carthay Center School, which was right on Olympic, and I had to pass his house. So I always credited Robert with my first date, but that's not true. It was Joel Gray at the movies.
What advice would you give to someone in their 20s or 30s who has their whole life ahead of them?
Advice about what in particular?
How to live a life, how to be happy.
Oh, how to be happy. Well, I feel that I have lived a very happy life. I mean, considering all the things that I've been through, I've had many falls and many operations to correct something, but I'm fine. And at 90, I think that I am hopefully over the top with anything more. Randy was saying we have to start making arrangements for your 91st birthday. No way, let's not think that way yet. I'm too young. I don't want to have another birthday yet. So that's, and Ronnie is the one that plans them, and she is miraculous. You would think she was a caterer. She is unbelievable, just unbelievable.
Your family is very important to you.
Pardon me?
Your family is very important to you.
Yeah. We do a lot together. We are very close. I mean, there may be something that we disagree about, and it really never seems to affect our relationship, really. It seems like it at the time. It seems terrible. And then it's gone. And we don't think about it. So that's the way I feel about my life.
All right. Rita, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Did it mean anything to you?
It does. Everyone's story is interesting, and a person who's lived 90 years on this planet certainly is going to be
Thank you.
very interesting.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much for sharing it.
Oh, my pleasure. I mean, that's a joy to me.
All right, Linda.
Yes.
Linda, where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I grew up in Los Angeles.
You
I
moved
came,
here?
to, I came to Los Angeles when I was 7 years old. And been here ever since. But I go back and forth to Alabama now, every now and then, because my family's there.
Tell me about your childhood.
Well, childhood, I kind of got raised kind of fast, and I learned a lot of things, from my mother. She worked, I had to babysit ourselves, so we was mostly always all alone, because she didn't trust no one to babysit us, So as I got older, I learned how to, take care of myself. And I had a baby at a young age, I was 14 when I had my first baby, 15 when I had him. 14 when I got pregnant, 15 when I had him. And I went into a coma when I had my baby, so I woke up like a month later. And I still know I had a baby, And as things got, further and further, at the age of 26, I met this guy. I thought he was cool, but he was a pimp, and I didn't know that until later on. And then he turned me out to prostitution. So I started doing that, and after a while I broke away from the pimp and started doing it for myself. It was much better for myself anyway. And I've just been doing it ever since, off and on, I take a break, but then I go right back to it. Well, it's fast money. Sometimes it's good money. Sometimes it's not. So you run into some of the awful things, I've been raped, beat up, sodomized, all kind of things can happen in that field. So you take a chance, just like a person told me, say, you girls got more heart than a gangster, because a gangster ain't gonna get in the car with anybody. You girls, y'all will get in the car with anybody, and which is true. We will, and not knowing the consequences of the outcome. You understand? Okay, so I took my chances, A lot of the bad things happened, but it was okay, I still kept going, I know the consequences. I know what could happen, but I just kept going. I guess because of the fast money and the drug habits, stuff like that.
Were drugs a part of your life?
Yeah. Drugs was in my life.
When did that start?
That started when I think I got about I think I was about 30 years old then when I started to drug. Other than that, but in the meantime, back before I started drug, I was smoking weed. You know, weed makes you happy. So I started smoking weed. Then I got turned on to the crack cocaine. You know, so I did that for, still, every now and then I do it. You know, but mostly I try to maintain myself, you know, so I can, you know, stay focused, not let bad things happen to me again. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that. Other than that,
How many kids do you have?
I have two. Yeah. As you can see, I'm much older than what you think.
How old are you?
I'm 66.
You're 66.
Yes. I'm 60. I have a son, 51, and a daughter, 48.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And you've been working Figueroa Street.
Yeah, Figueroa. Yeah, but lately just Figueroa. Yeah. You know, because I grew up around Figueroa.
The girls range from like early teens to almost 70.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost.
And the guys.
That's a long way.
And at your age, what kind of guys pick you up?
Oh, I met, lately, well, back then, you know, it was hectic. You know, you run into all, like I said, you run into all kind of bad things, good things, you know. But lately, I've been running into good things. You know, I guess because I'm older, I try to judge, but you can't, you know, you can't be perfect. And so far, so good.
There are a lot of guys, very, very handsome men
Oh, yes,
who are very into older women.
You wouldn't believe the people that come down there to see girls. And if they're lucky to get a hold of me. And I treat them good, you know. I do the right thing. Because it don't pay to do the wrong things, you know.
Like stealing their watch.
Yeah, and their phone, and, you know, searching their car. You know, hey, that was back then. You don't do those things these days, you know, because they come back on you really loaded.
That's how girls get hurt.
Hurt and killed, you know. And then sometimes the wrong girl can get killed behind somebody else's nest. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that happened too, you know. So I just look at my life as just trying to be right, you know, with my profession.
Do you have any regrets in your life?
Oh yeah, I regret the fact that I got into drugs. You know, I regret that fact. For prostitution, I don't regret it, but I hate the fact that it's like an addiction. You know, fast money. And hey.
Do you enjoy the interactions with the men?
Well, no. Well, yes. All depends. It all depends on what kind of type of guy they are. Mm-hmm. You know, because you can get a hold of some guy who want to talk crazy, or get some guy to talk nasty. You know, and you talk nasty back with them to turn them on. You know, but then sometimes no. But as far as enjoying the sex with them and stuff, no, I don't do that too often. You know.
You've been in love before?
Have I ever been in love? I'm in love now, but I can't, you know. I have to put some things down to order that, gain that love.
How long do you think you might do this?
It's coming to a close. Yes. Might not believe it, but it's been
You still look great.
Thank you.
I can see you doing this at 80.
It's coming to a close, yes. Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. It's getting ready to come to a close.
Does this work affect you emotionally?
Oh, not, well.
It's become your reality for so many decades.
Yeah, you know, that's really it is.
You're used to it.
Yes, very used to it. You know, even if I was to shut it down a little bit, I would still, if it approached me, and I'm gonna get it. You know, my thing is to get it. If it approached me, even if I done settled down, got, you know, myself together, not doing it like I usually do it, I would still, if it approached me, I still would take it.
I'm sure there are guys cruising up and down Figueroa Street that are looking for something crazy. Uh-huh. So whether it's a midget or a young girl or an older woman.
Oh, they love young girls.
Fat girls, skinny girls, everything.
Yeah, everything. Oh, it's somebody for everybody, no matter how you look. You know. And it is midgets. You wouldn't believe it. Like, lately, there's a lot of little midgets.
Yeah, I've seen 3 of them down there.
Yeah, ain't that something? But anyway, they think I'm a midget sometimes.
Yeah, you're small. What, you know, I'm sure you've had some terrible things happen. What's the worst thing you've seen in all your years?
I was picked up, and he brought me to the beach on the hill. I think it was Play There Ray. where they go and sit on the hill and, make out or whatever. But anyway, he did what he had to do to me. Then he made me go down by the beach. I'm thinking, he had a gun on me, and he made me go down there by the beach. And he made me bury myself in the sand, but my feet all the. Then he buried the top of me, but I could still feel the gun on my temple. And I thought when the plane, the planes go over. So when the plane went going overhead and making all that noise, I'm thinking he's gonna pull the trigger, but he didn't. So I laid there for a long time. He already gone, and I didn't know it. So some people was walking on the beach, and they stepped on me. Instead of, going around to grab the old hump of sand, they stepped on it. And I raised up like that, and they called the police and an ambulance for me. Oh, wow. So that's about the best thing, worst thing. And then I know one time, this Mexican guy, he tried to take me to some of his friends, right? So he put his feet on the gas. He's going real fast. So I put my feet on top of his on the gas, and we're going to go faster. So he slowed down. He said, okay, and he let me out.
After 4 decades of working as a prostitute, what have you learned about men?
They can be very bad. They can treat you like anything, and dog you out. I mean, just slap you around, make you do things that you don't want to do, and yeah.
But are there some really nice ones as well?
Oh yes, very nice ones.
There must be.
I have one that he had a briefcase full of money, and I'm wondering what did he come from? So we was in a cab, a yellow cab, and we went to the Six Motel, and he was paying me to be quiet, no sex. So he was very nice, and then I have a nice one now. He's very nice, That's one I love.
So you have regulars?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
But what is your strength? What do you have that no one else does?
I feel like I have, my strength is I try to be very forward. I don't want to lie about anything. That's my strength. I like to come straight forward.
You'll be honest.
Be honest, yeah. I like to come straight forward. That's the strength that I have. I don't want a person to sit and lie to me. But those things come, and I know that. And I can't make people be like me.
No, that's a great strength.
Yeah. So that's
quality.
Mm-hmm, yes. Real honesty. But you can't get that all the time. Mm-hmm. You can get it from me, but you can't get it from everybody else. You can't.
Did you raise your children?
Oh, yes. Until they was grown. Till they was 18 or whatever. After that, they on their own.
What do they think of Mom's profession?
Well, they don't like it. Ooh, they don't like it. But they put up with it, and they supply me with, certain things. The order to keep me at home sometimes.
Does your level of income change when you go from 26 to 66?
Yeah, yes, it did. Yes, it very did.
There's less demand for you now?
No,
There's more demand, maybe.
Yes, yes, of course. Got to be.
You think prostitution should be legalized?
I think so. I mean, you can't stop it. So, and it's just that you have to have a lot of respect for the children, when you're doing it out there on the streets like that. That's what I think too. You don't go out here and dress. You don't stay like this dress when the kids are going to school. You don't do that. You either leave and let them go on to school, and then you come back out, at a certain hour. Other than that, don't disrespect the kids. After all, I mean, sure, everybody got kids, that's working. They got kids. They don't want nobody, come on now. Even if your kids do know what you do and how you dress, but don't just expose it to other people's kids, But they do. That's why a lot of things going on now.
And the men who are picking you up, I think a lot of them are married, probably, right?
Of course. And some of them are not. I have got picked up by a husband and wife.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. They like to party, Hey, we get paid for it. Money's money.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Mhm. It was on her birthday.
So you've been in this career for decades. Have you saved money?
Yes, I
You
have.
have?
Yes. Matter of fact, that's why I say I'm fin to, it's finna come to an end, a closure. I saved enough to get me a little car, little used car, whatever. I got about 6,000, put away. That's about it.
What do you think people don't understand about women that do this kind of work?
They don't understand the fact that it's an addiction. First of all, when you first start doing it, it's an addiction. It's fast money. It's quick money. So you don't got an addiction to it. You can go out here and look cute and sexy and get money real fast. That's what they don't understand.
Yeah, you get addicted to the whole
A whole thing
It's like a
about
fashion
getting
show. It's
yeah.
a
You go look pretty.
popularity contest.
Okay, you're trying to outdo everybody else. But me myself, I'm not into that outdoing. I'm just into me going out there and do me. That's it.
Are some of the girls competitive when you're out there?
Of course, they call me. They say, "Mama Linda, old as you are, you still look good." I hope I look like you when I get older.
What advice would you give to a younger girl who does this work?
Does this?
Yeah.
It's to get out while you can. This is not for you. You're young. They kidnap girls. They do a lot of things to girls. They'll mistreat you. You do anything because you really don't know. And a pimp don't care about you. So get out while you can, baby. You got your life. You got your whole life ahead of you. You're young. You can be productive. You can do everything.
Do you wish you had
Yes, I do.
how far did you get an education?
I went to the 12th grade. I graduated.
You graduated.
But let me tell you now, before we close out, I used to be a school bus driver before I even got into prostitution.
Really?
I drove school bus for 8 years, So it's not nothing that I can't do or know how to get to do. I worked in hospitals. I gave up a lot of good things that I could have had in my, made a career out of, that I pursued something else.
Do you wish you had married and settled down?
Yes.
That never happened.
Never happened. Mm-hmm. Could have. Hard-headed, stubborn.
What kind of things do you learn from doing this for so long?
What kind of things I learned?
Just in terms of what you
I learned that.
about people, about the dangers of the streets, about gangs, about pimps.
I learned that it's best to sometimes stay to yourself. Don't talk to any and everybody, and don't jump in the car with any and everybody. Because you got some guys out there that don't even look like pimps or are pimps. They'll drive a different car, dress a different way, or just you try to judge the best way you know how. That's it.
You look like a young woman.
I do.
Yeah, I mean your body, you're still, your energy is still very young.
Thank you.
Do you think this lifestyle has kept you that way?
No. I think that
It's just who
take
you
care
are.
of myself, and it's in my genes. That's all I can think of.
You have good genes.
Yes. Thank you.
What was your favorite decade? Your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, 50s?
Nah,
or no?
I think it was like my 40s.
40s?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I still look much younger than my 40s. And I got a lot of, lots of, money and friends and, clients. And,
Do you have friends?
well, no. No, I don't consider, you have to look at that word friend a very deep way, because you can't just say anybody's your friend. You know what I'm saying? Even him, I can't say he's my friend. Even
Just
though
acquaintance.
acquaintance, somebody that I met that turned me on to, do whatever, help me out, or whatever. But other than that, I really just can't say that's my friend.
Do you tend to trust strangers?
No.
Are you wary of them? Are you?
Yes, of course. I try to be on my P's and Q's the best way I know how. I try.
But you seem very good natured, good
Well,
hearted.
thank you. A lot of my clients and people tell me that. They say, Linda, you are so then you are so giving and caring, but they tell me, but you got to stop being like that. You got to start being hard. I can't be hard like that. That's not in my ladylike ways. I can't do that like that. All I can do is when I see it coming, and if I'm using my best judgment, I tend to shy away. Other than that, no.
And Linda, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your 66 years?
The most important lesson now is for me to slow it down, because sooner or later it ain't gonna be all good. You know what I'm saying? Sooner or later. So my lesson is to get out while I can. That's my lesson for me. Because every good thing or every almost good thing must come to an end. Mm-hmm. Especially with good people. People that don't do certain things, people that have been there and done those certain things, and try not to do them anymore. So that's my best lesson, is to get out while I can.
All right. Linda, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
You're charming and delightful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.